Today we've got a good friend of mine, Billy Racule. Billy is a designer who's had a bunch of different background experiences designing for different agencies and companies. But today we're going to talk a little bit about a side project that he was able to wiggle himself into, which is designing for the all-new Utah rugby team. Rugby is something that Billy's really passionate about, and we're going to talk a little bit about what it takes to design for something so heavily rooted in Polynesian culture, yet still aimed at a wider audience, specifically the white bread Utah. We'll talk a little bit about the networking that took place in order for him to get into this position, and a few other tidbits along the way. Before we jump into the episode, I'm going to make a quick plug. This week, here it is, I'm heading up to Rexburg, Idaho for the Young Professionals Meetup Group. This will be Thursday night at 7 o'clock. And we're going to be talking a little bit about creating and validating different business ideas and a few other rules of thumb as we go along in that direction of entrepreneurship. So if you're in the Rexburg area, definitely check it out. I hope to record it and get all the audio from it so that we can post that here as well if you're not able to attend. So with that, let's jump into today's episode of Design Today with Billy Racule.
I think so.
Have I? Have you listened to one yet?
Yeah.
You have. Which one did you listen to?
The one where you guys were talking about Vero.
Oh, the Vero one. Yeah, cool.
It was very good.
No, it's terrible. It's Vero bad. Have you downloaded it?
Uh-huh.
You did download it?
No, I have not.
Oh, no, it's still on my phone. I actually discovered that it was still on my phone today.
Oh, snap.
Let's go ahead and get started. Billy, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
This is Design Today. Billy, you've been involved in design for quite some time, but before we get too much into the design stuff, I want to talk a little bit about your background. Let us get to know you a little bit.
Well, Billy Racule, originally from the beautiful islands of Fiji, where the bottle of Fiji water is actually bottled.
Is it really?
It is.
No way.
It's bottled at the source.
It's in New York or something.
No, it's not. I can prove it to you because the place that bottle of water is bottled is actually at my mom's village.
Oh, really?
So my uncles and them actually work there.
Okay.
I don't know if it actually holds true to what they say. It's never been touched by human hands before it gets bottled, but it is bottled at the source.
But it's in Fiji.
Yeah, it's in Fiji. So whenever we go and visit my mom's village, my uncles and them give us bottles of water to come back with.
That's cool. Okay.
It's the cleanest source of water in Fiji. So.
And how long were you in Fiji for?
Well, I grew up all over the South Pacific. Spent the first 7 years of my life in Fiji, and then we moved to another South Pacific island, Tonga, where I spent most of my years growing up, high school, the rest of elementary school all the way up to high school. Graduated from there, and served my 2-year Mormon mission in Tonga as well. You seen the movie The Other Side of Heaven? It's about my mission. So
is it?
Yes, it is. And then from there, went to college at BYU Hawaii. But in high school, in terms of what I've always had a drive for, was design, whatever it was. I had still have a passion for traditional art. But it kind of evolved as I started to kind of figure out, the industry where it essentially would eventually head was in more of the digital side of things.
Right.
So I kind of had a foundation in terms of what to expect in the digital space, just being in high school when Windows computers first came to. I was able to use a mouse rather than a keyboard.
You were designing on a PC.
I was with Paint.
Who designs on it?
I got really good with Paint. I kid you not. Those patterns that they have on there?
Yeah.
I was able to
pixel art, dude.
Pixel art. And I was able to draw because I was into gang movies back then, so I would draw little Mexican cholos. Draw them really good. I was able to even design shoes on there and stuff. So I had a good grasp of what it would take to take my passion for art in the traditional sense and apply it into the digital space. And so after my mission, when I was planning on going to school, BYU Hawaii was pretty much the only option for me at that point.
Right.
And so it was either go into the drafting architecture program, because I that's one of the things that I loved as well, was design and structure.
Right.
But they killed that program, so I was like, what else was I going to do? They had a graphics design program, but the year that I applied to go to BYU, they killed that as well. So I had to fall back on the traditional fine arts program,
Sure.
which there's nothing wrong with that. But then I concentrated more on the two-dimensional space, and then did a minor in instructional design and
Cool.
development, and then took a few IS classes that really helped me understand more of the web side of things.
Sure.
Because that's when like web design was like
Oh yeah.
in the works.
And it's heyday.
And Flash was like the cool thing, you know.
Yep.
So everybody wanted to do cool things and then animate them.
Yep.
And so, in a nutshell, that's how I got to where I'm at today. So I've kind of tinkered here and there with regard to the creative world, but really honed in on the digital space right out of high school and college.
Cool. So one thing I really want to hone in on today is your passion for rugby. That's going to be the biggest part of our conversation right now.
How much of the program do you want to talk about rugby? Because we could spend a good chunk of it. So,
well, one of the things that okay, I'll jump into it right away. If you follow Billy on Facebook or anything like that, you'll understand that he's very passionate about his rugby, right?
yes.
In fact, you were on a weekend date with your wife, and she caught you
Yes.
watching rugby on your phone while you're supposed to be
I was
sledding with
watching
her.
rugby because Fiji, it's a rugby fanatic country, and so I was following their progress while we were on a pre-anniversary date.
Pre-anniversary date,
Yes.
you're watching rugby.
Yes,
So I've got to imagine that Fiji and Tonga have got to be rivals.
they are. They are when
And
it comes to rugby. So
where do your allegiances lie?
that's not even like a hard. It's like I like to say that I'm Tongan like in identity and sometimes, but when it comes to rugby, Fiji all the way.
Fiji all the way. So your friends and family watching that aren't going to be surprised by that comment.
They won't be.
No.
Some of my Tongan friends might be, and they were like, what a traitor, but they know very well. Like,
Allegiances lie
yeah,
in
like
Fiji.
I speak Tongan fluently. People
Yeah.
mistake me for a Tongan, but when it comes to rugby, it's straight up Fiji.
You're Fiji all the way.
Fiji all the way.
So when you moved out here to Utah, I know you've been involved in local rugby leagues a bit. How'd you get involved with that, and what have you been doing with those leagues?
Well, when I first moved up to Utah, I told some of my buddies for us to enter in a non-contact tournament.
Yep.
And interestingly enough, the individual who I am working with today, who has, essentially led me to where I'm at today with regard to rugby and the creative aspect of it and what I do with rugby and creativity, he was running this program. And since I had some experience back in Kansas City before I moved out to Utah, working with the rugby community, I reached out to him and said, hey, if you need any help with, running anything rugby, let me know.
Right.
I didn't have any intention of it evolving to what it is today, but it did,
Uh-huh.
and I'm glad it did.
Uh-huh.
And so it evolved from there. I got to know his name is Kimball Kerr. I reached out to him at one of the games, and I said, if you need any help, let me know. And one thing led to another, and next thing you know, he's letting me run the touch rugby program, which
Yep.
is awesome because it's an opportunity for me, and it's not just for people who've played rugby. It's for people from companies like Domo.
Yep. Yep.
Domo has participated in the touch rugby program for a couple of years now. They won it 2 years in a row.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they won it 2 years in a row, and both times in the finals they played Adobe and they squashed them.
Oh, really?
Sorry, Adobe.
It's funny because they got a hockey team as well, and I think their hockey teams won the local league championship 2 years in a row now. Maybe even 3 years in a row now. Domo's got some athletes, apparently.
Well, they do, but yeah, that's awesome. And so, like, it's a good opportunity to develop camaraderie. I think that's one of the reasons too. I really like the sport of rugby is it trickles out into the workspace as well, because I've seen like people from various departments at Domo and Adobe, or various departments that don't know each other, but then they come and they actually form a bond within there. So it's been awesome to actually be part of that and use some of my passion for the sport of rugby and design to help with the community in that sense.
Yeah. So what specifically have you had the opportunity to design for in those leagues?
Well, for one, with the the touch rugby program, managing all the creative campaigns,
Okay.
social media,
Yep.
like when you're in the creative space, you almost can't help but like tinker in Adobe Premiere, like you do some social media stuff,
Do you do like some highlight reels and stuff?
highlight reels.
Yeah, that's cool.
I like to work with a good photographer,
Yep.
who's has helped like elevate a lot of the stuff that I've done for it's Rugby Utah. So
Right.
it's the governing body for rugby within the state of Utah.
Right.
So there's that level of collaboration with other creative minds as well. That
Uh-huh.
it's just one of those things. If you know someone that's really good at what they do, hire them out, and then it'll actually help elevate your work to another standard.
Sure. Have you had much experience with like the social media advertising and marketing and that kind of stuff prior to this?
Yes, I worked in the ad agency in Kansas City for almost 4 years.
Okay. So that's not
yeah.
new to you.
So it's not it fairly new in the sense that I have to do things all by myself now. So
Right.
I have some foreknowledge of how things work, from email marketing, best practices in email design. You've probably
Right.
it's more than you need to know with regard to email marketing. And then there's like the video production side
Yeah.
of things, being able to understand your audience and create content that's specific to their passions, their desires, if you will.
Yep.
And so working in an ad agency is in Kansas City has kind of helped lay the foundation. But not only that, being in Kansas City, I was also involved with rugby, with the rugby team out there. And I'm essentially doing what I used to do for them, but at just a higher standard now. Not that the standard was low there, but I had to begin from somewhere.
Sure.
Right?
Sure.
So I did all the creative marketing for them, helped build their audience on social media and stuff. But to me, it's more so like how I portray the image of the organization to its audience.
Yep.
Listen to its audience and then tweak until you get it right.
How many fans of rugby here in Utah are not with some Islander background?
I'd have to say it's like 35%.
35% not?
Yeah,
Okay.
which is pretty good for if you compare it to like California and stuff.
Yep.
It's like
It's all Islanders.
it's like you don't have as many Islanders. Because
Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I
we
probably thought of your question wrong, but
we just got more Islanders here. So that's
Yeah,
what I'm
you
saying.
just
We
got more
heavily
Islanders here.
Yeah.
and so a big part of the rugby culture and identity for the state of Utah is based upon the Polynesian migration to the state of Utah.
Yep.
Tongan Samoans, people from New Zealand, Hawaiians as well.
Yep.
And so they kind of formed the identity for rugby in the state of Utah.
Yep.
And it's because of that it's kind of like the epicenter of rugby at this point. There is no other state that essentially compares to Utah in terms of the amount of talent it produces per capita
Sure.
for the sport of rugby.
Sure. So in designing for something that's so heavily integrated with the Polynesian culture, do you find yourself bringing in Polynesian culture to that design? Or is it more ambiguous to sports? Or
That's a really good thing, because that was one of the challenges that we faced when we were trying to brand and create an identity for the rugby for the professional rugby club here within the state of Utah. Given the fact that it's founded on the Pacific Island community, by and large, but within the rugby community, it's largely fostered by the Pacific Island people.
Right.
And then outside of that is, everybody else. And so if you try to create an identity that's so specific to them, you kind of leave everybody else who have the passion for it, feel like they're wannabes, and you don't want that to be.
Polynesian wannabes are the worst too.
Yes. And my wife can attest to that.
Yeah, Polynesian wannabes are the worst. So it makes the sense that you don't want to further help those wannabes feel more wannabes. So yeah, you got to open it up a little bit, but you still got to stay true to the Polynesian culture, I'd imagine, right?
And so we've tried to keep traces of of that identity, and then when people look at the guy who designed the logo, he did a good job of trying to make it more ambiguous.
And this is for the Warriors that you're talking about?
Yeah, for the Warriors.
So explain to those who are watching or listening, what is the Warriors?
Okay, so
this is new.
The Utah Warriors is one of 7 teams that are actually part of the equivalent of the NFL.
Yep.
For rugby within the United States.
That's so rad.
So it's called Major League Rugby.
That's so rad.
It's pretty awesome. The guy that I worked with that I mentioned, Kimball Kerr, he's actually one of the individuals who, along with other key individuals within the state of Utah as well, who actually spearheaded this initiative, and it's really taking off. So we initially started with 7 teams. And the team that represents the state of Utah is the Utah Warriors. The reason why I picked that name is because it's something that, kind of to that thing, it resonates in more than one culture.
Right.
But the way that when people think of Utah and the rugby community, they're like, oh, it's largely Pacific Island. But when they look at the logo, they're like, it kind of stops and make you think. So it's just one of those things where you're trying to create this identity, but you're not trying to just pigeonhole it into a specific community.
Well, and it sounds like actually a genius name, because it's something that's so ambiguous that hearing the Warriors, right? I mean, we've got Golden State Warriors, which has no Polynesian tie. Right. So, and the word in and of itself is not going to make you feel anything Polynesian specifically, but in the branding, there has been that tie-in.
Yes, there is. And so, and I think subconsciously people get it.
Yeah.
And well, that's at least what we think right now. And so we're still the first year, so it's going to be really interesting to see how we evolve this brand. And so
that's rad. One of the things I fear is that I'm going to become one of those Islander wannabes.
Don't worry about it.
And I say that because
I'll give you a 101 book on it, and you'll just fit right in.
So actually my brother, who was on one of the last episodes, he went to school in BYU, Hawaii.
Oh, okay, that's right.
I've got another brother who was in Hawaii as well. Those guys surfed all the time, right? They're the ones who I hear give the most crap about the Polynesian wannabes. They probably give more crap than the actual Polynesians do. I don't know.
It's hit or miss too. Like it all depends too. Like who you're around and stuff like that. Like I was one of those people where I was like, I told myself, I'm just gonna keep to my own culture. But then I ended up marrying a white woman. So
another culture shared. I did watch Moana over the summer, so I feel pretty Polynesian at this point.
Where's your paddle?
I
mean, you work with wood. You could have easily made one.
Yeah, it's on that wall. The cameras can't see it.
Oh, wow. There's a picture of Maui right there. How did I miss that?
So I actually really like this idea. I mean, you've got a team that's going to be heavily influenced by Polynesian culture. Are the other teams in the league as influenced by Polynesian culture?
I'd have to say yes. Because when you talk about the sport of rugby, it's heavily influenced by Polynesians, right. And so you will see these teams. They will have at least 4 or 5 Polynesian or Pacific Island heritage people, individuals on their team, and so it's just I can't say it's comparable to the NFL because it's just on a bigger scale. Right. But when you talk about the sport of rugby, it's largely influenced, mostly within the southern hemisphere by Polynesian Pacific Island heritage.
Yeah. Have you had to do any design work for the Warriors to this point yet?
I have a lot.
You've done a lot.
A lot.
Okay, so what are some of these assets that you're creating?
So, kind of going back to what I was talking about, being able to collaborate with other creative minds within the state of Utah to help create a brand. When we first launched, I proposed that we create a custom rugby kit.
Yep.
And we had that. I designed it, and we had it, and we picked specific individuals, and we went out to the Salt Flats.
Okay.
We went out to the Salt Flats, me and the photographer, his name is Davey.
Okay.
Davey Wilson. super talented guy, specifically for photography. So he's worked in the advertising and sports marketing industry, so he knows what it takes to make a good image.
Cool.
And so we went out to the Salt Flats. Got there before sunrise. We were there at like 6 o'clock in the morning, and we did this awesome photo shoot to launch the brand. We were there for at least 4 hours, and so just the reason why we chose the Salt Flats was that just said Utah. There's
That's
no
iconic.
other. Yeah, that's iconic to Utah, right? And you just have these guys, and I'll send you some of these pictures that you can add to the podcast if you want, of these guys just out in the Salt Flats, just like we are the Utah Warriors. And it's a good combination of Pacific Islanders, local players, and people that you can identify from various cultures. So that's how we launched the brand.
What are they wearing? What was it that you were actually bringing to the table outside of assembling all of this?
So one of the obstacles, which I don't think it is at this point in time, because people have just become used to it, was what colors do we use to represent the Warriors? Because as far as the rugby community is concerned, BYU and the U, those are like the two
blue and red.
Yeah, blue and red. So do we go blue, red, and white? And then you end up creating like a police.
Yeah, patriotic.
Which is okay, but we're trying to create something that's true to an identity that we want to create. So the colors that they landed on were black, which is their primary color, red secondary, and then silver as the accent color.
Okay.
And so we took those. I came up with a good design, just doing some good research, seeing what designs out there are. I went to Pinterest, created my own Pinterest board, started pinning, came up with a good concept, sent it to a place in Colorado, and they turned it around in 2 weeks, brought it back. So we created a full kit. So that's a top jersey, and then shorts, and then also tank tops.
Cool.
For training purposes.
Cool.
And then we went out to the Salt Flats. I also made a huge flag with the Warriors logo on it that they would hold at the Salt Flats, just guys scattered.
Yeah.
And so we staged that, and we launched the brand. I think it's been about 6 months now.
Yeah.
And with the launch of the brand, we also created a hype video that we worked with another individual. It's one of those things, just collaborating with other creative minds within the state of Utah. And, we created a really awesome hype video to introduce the Utah Warriors. And essentially, we set the standard for the rest of the Major League Rugby League.
Do they not have them?
Well, nobody's been
doing it.
Nobody did a hype video like we did to launch the brand.
Yeah.
So after we did it, everybody started to kind of like, Utah kind of set the standard.
As you're still better than everyone else's?
Of course.
So if you're watching this on YouTube, we'll have to add a link in the description so that people can watch this video.
Okay.
It's on YouTube, right?
It's on Facebook.
It's on Facebook?
I think it's on both.
It's got to be on YouTube then, right?
I think our social media guy put it on both. So.
Okay. Oh, I want to check that out.
Yeah.
So you mentioned that you picked the colors red, black is a primary, right? Red and silver.
Right.
Do those colors have any Polynesian meaning, or why'd you land on the red specifically?
Well, the red, I think the reason why they landed with the red is because when people think of Utah, they don't think of necessarily blue, because they just associate it with the University of Utah.
Okay, you've just aggravated a lot of BYU fans.
It is what it is. But red, and I think subconsciously that was a decision that they had made at some point in time. But the color black is something that is, it's identifiable in terms of warrior.
Yep.
Right. So that's why black is our primary color. And, that's something that if you go to our Facebook page, it's painted all over the place.
Is there any other team in the league who's made black their primary color?
Funny thing you mentioned that. Yes, there is.
Oh, there
There's
is.
another team based out of San Diego. It's called San Diego Legion.
And what's their secondary color?
It's red.
No.
It's black and red.
They're black and red as
Black,
well.
red, and white, I think.
I guess silver.
Yeah, we got silver. Every now and then, yeah. So we got silver.
So someone who doesn't know very much about rugby, I do know the All Blacks, right?
Yes.
And so I'm wondering, is the All Blacks, are they making black a popular color in rugby, or is that aside for them?
Yes, I think they've taken the color black and they have
I
made
mean, I associate black with rugby because of the All Blacks. I
Yeah.
don't know if that's just somebody who
No.
is an outsider that's ignorant, or
No.
if that was.
That was actually their that's it's funny because the name All Blacks was because of a typo.
That's what I heard.
Yeah, it was because of a typo in an article.
Because they're supposed to be.
Because in the sport of rugby, you have forwards and you
Uh-huh.
have backs.
Yeah.
And so they were playing in Europe, I think, and everybody on the New Zealand team who were playing were so fast in the way that they're moving the ball around that it looked like that they were all backs.
Uh-huh.
But when they put it, when the journalist wrote it down, he made a typo. He fat fingered it. This is why I have autocorrect these days, people. But good for the All Blacks. You know, they have a pretty cool name. So
What
he
were they
fat
called
fingered.
before that then?
I think it was just the New Zealand Maoris. I think I'm not sure.
Okay. And then they became the All Blacks.
Yeah, they looked like they were all blacks because he fat fingered the the article, and
That's
so
funny.
that that went viral pretty quick in that day and age, and it just stuck.
Yeah.
You know, the all blacks instead of all backs,
Yeah.
and so that stuck with him. And I think to me that's like a good way of creating an identity. You know,
Sure, this was created by the people, right?
yeah, created by the people, and then you just build on that.
Uh-huh.
And so I think that's one of the things that the organization wanted to do is create something similar to that, and kind of build on that. So we're still building. You know, we have all these ideas, but what I've been told, based on research and just going to seminars and stuff, and presentations about creating a brand, your brand should evolve around what your audience tells you.
Right.
So this is our first year, right?
Mhm.
Black, red, and silver.
How do you think it evolves as the future goes? Take a stab at it.
Well, I think if people identify it as more of a Polynesian or Pacific influence thing, then it might head down that direction. But at this point, we're trying to keep it agnostic as possible, just to get a feel for what people are saying, what people are understanding, what people are seeing.
Yep.
And the first game is actually going to be a huge revelation to what people identify as the Warriors, because it's one of those things, like when you're creating an organization and a brand, especially in terms of sport, things that come to mind is like, what's going to be our mascot,
Right.
what's going to be our chant, what are people, especially within the American culture, because that's just what the expectation is with sports or
Sports in
brand.
general.
Sports in
Yeah.
general and a brand. Like the Vikings, I'm sure they have something.
Skull.
There you go.
Yep.
See, and then in Kansas City with the Chiefs,
Yeah, they don't have anything.
oh whatever, dude. We make that stadium go super loud. But yeah, so it's just one of those things. So the first year with the Warriors, I think we've kind of set the standard, but we just don't know if how people are going to respond to that standard. So
have you started putting together, I mean, you got the first game of the season's coming up end of this month?
yes, end of this month, on the 30th of March. It's going to be at Rio Tinto this time, rather than at the new stadium.
So most of your games will be at the stadium out in, where is it at?
Harriman.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's at the Academy Stadium up in Harriman. Most of our games are going to be there. Our first two games, which is preseason, essentially a preseason match, but we count it as a season match anyway because it helps us just, get all the cobwebs off. And
Yep.
so the first two matches are going to be at Rio Tinto. The first one is going to be against a team from Glendale, Colorado, the Raptors.
And they're a good team from what you were telling me last
Yes,
time.
they are a really good team. They are by far the only team that has been able to operate as a professional organization
Yep.
since they've been established.
That's cool.
And so that means like paying their players and insurance and all
Sure.
those things. So
So-
it's always good fun to play those guys.
Oh yeah, it's gonna be competitive.
Yeah, it's gonna be.
So you have fans that are showing up on March 30th for the game. Are they wearing apparel? Are they wearing the Warriors stuff yet, or is it not?
Oh,
out?
we have an online store.
What's the URL?
It's just shop.warriorsrugby.com.
Okay.
Shop.warriorsrugby.com, and
Start getting your swag for the game.
Start getting your swag for a game. I will give you a promo code after this, so you can put it in this in this podcast. If people want to buy stuff, 15%
All
off.
3 listeners will be able to get their apparel for 15% off.
15% off. Get
Lucky
that Warriors swag.
Yeah. Lucky 3 listeners.
Yeah, I want to try a lot of new things with the Warriors brand, but it's just one of the things you just gotta take it slow.
Sure.
Kind of feel out your audience and then really dig into it. But yeah, so it's really exciting.
Warriors have a chant yet?
Not yet.
Have you been in what's this?
Have you seen the movie The Warriors? Warriors.
Oh, come out and play.
We've been told to use that. I was like, I don't know, but that would actually be pretty funny if we did that as a spoof.
So I told you my high school team was the Warriors, right?
Yeah.
And they'd play that on the PA system. Warriors.
Oh, really?
And that's how we'd run out into the field.
Oh, nice.
At least that's what I remember in my head. I could be mistaken, but I remember a couple of times at least. Well, that's rad. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up this podcast. I appreciate you coming on. I appreciate your thoughts, specifically, protecting culture and branding and that approach. I find that fascinating. Again, plug for the Warriors' first game, March 30th.
March 30th. Individual ticket sales will be available by the end of this week. So by the time you're watching this podcast, you can go to our website and...
Oh, no pressure. Now I got to go edit this right away.
Oh, don't worry about it.
Ship this as soon as I can. Are you going to be in a box or on the field watching the game?
I'm going to be all over the place.
Are you?
Because just got to make sure that, because we'll have stuff going on that day. Like, for someone scores a try in rugby, when you score touchdowns, call it a try. If someone scores a try, we'll throw up a video on social and say, try score. Like those kinds of things.
Oh, yeah.
So I'll be working with our social media guy to manage that. So
now, you gave me an invite for that already, right?
I did.
Do I get to take you up on that invite?
You get to.
Do I get to record and document the whole process of you running around on the field and
of course,
posting
man.
the social
Let's do
media
it.
and stuff? Yeah, that'd be sweet. I'm
would
excited.
be.
Again, I hope to learn a little bit more about rugby as this starts to take root here in Utah.
And our hashtag is stand strong, stand as one.
Stand strong, stand as one. Okay. Thanks, everyone, for listening in. That's another episode of Design Today, and that's a wrap.
All right.
Thanks, dude.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, that was rad. Warriors.
Come on and play.